Hello, and welcome to the Empowerography Podcast. This is a platform created for women's voices to be heard and a place to share their stories, journeys, and successes with the world for the purpose of helping other women who might be on similar journeys. We are empowering women one episode at a time. I'm your host, Brad Walsh, so kick back, grab one of your favorite beverages, and enjoy the stories. If you're looking for jewelry that makes an impact on your self-care routine and your style, Empowerography would love to offer you a discount code to one of our exclusive partners, Quartz and Canary Jewelry and Wellness Company. Please use code EMPOWER15 to receive 15% off upon checkout at www.quartzandcanary.com. Quartz and Canary is truly the place where spirituality meets style. Hello there, Brad Walsh here, your host of the Empowerography Podcast. Today, my guest is Deanna Rose. She is the owner and founder of Wellth by Deanna Rose Incorporated. How are you doing today, Deanna?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me, Brad. It's such an honor to be here and have this conversation with you.
Actually, the pleasure and the honor is all mine, Deanna. I know you and I have been trying to connect to get this done. This is the third time, and as they say, third time is a charm. So here we are getting this done finally. I'm so honored and happy to have you here today. And I appreciate you, and I appreciate you taking the time to be here and share a bit about your story and your journey with us today. So let's jump right in. So Deanna, you are a naturopathic doctor. You have your BA in psychology. You have worked as a counselor who worked with adolescents who were dealing with addiction, people who were HIV positive, mental health issues. And as mentioned, you're also the founder of Wellth by Deanna Rose. That is one hell of an extensive resume you have there. With all that you have going on, how do you find the time and how do you prioritize and organize?
That's a really, really great question. And you got all the backgrounds there. So thank you so much for, integrating all that into a question. Definitely. And this is something that I practice myself, and also I really preach it to my clients, and I really make sure that I integrate this into my client's plan. I think everyone should really do this, is to prioritize themselves. And what I say is be selfish to be selfless, because so many people, and especially as high achievers, as entrepreneurs, as people who really want to make an impact in this world, they are very selfless people. But we can't be selfless if we don't be selfish. We have to be able to fill our own cups. We have to be able to give. We can't really give if we don't receive, if we're not willing to receive. And I think that's what a lot of people haven't really, been able to fully embrace. And also, really have some sort of anchoring point on a daily basis. And that's what I try to do, is morning rituals, evening rituals, really having those anchoring points during the day to fill your own cup, be able to refill so you can give and then refill again on a daily basis, on an hourly basis, if that's something that you need. So most definitely, to make sure that I'm selfish with myself so I can be selfless with other people. And one more thing in terms of organization of time is, I don't know if people have heard of this. I personally think this is something that's very common, but when I speak to people, they're not so aware of it. Is the big rock, small rock, and the sand is in terms of organization on a daily basis. You can do this weekly, monthly, annually as well. Is make sure that you put in the big rocks first. So your big rocks are your projects, your really important projects that you want to complete, and then your smaller rocks, so less task projects that take less priority, but you still want to complete them with a certain period of time. And then your sand, of course, is the last thing that you fill in. So imagine a jar. You're not going to fill in the sand because your big rocks are not going to be able to fit. So you want to put in the big things, the small things, and lastly the sand, which are the more of the minor things that you fill at the end. Mm-hmm.
I love that way of looking at things. That's great. That's a great way to look at things and prioritize for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk a bit about your work as a counselor. Was this your first passion or love, seeing as when you got to school and got a psych degree? Was that what you really had your heart set on and your mind set on doing as a career?
Yeah, totally. I'll tell you a really quick and funny story, actually. I love the mind. I've always loved the brain. And I also, and this sounds a little bit morbid, but I love cutting things open, especially flesh.
Yeah.
I don't know where I got this from. So I remember when I was a child, one day I told my mom, and I was like, I really want to be a neurosurgeon.
Wow.
Because there's the brain and there's a cutting
Yeah.
things open component. It's a perfect career. And you'd think she'd be very proud, right? You think that
Yeah.
she'd be very supportive. And she goes, why don't you just be a butcher? So much easier. And so, that was like a bit of a turnoff for me. Anyways, of course, I didn't end up being a neurosurgeon, but my fascination with the mind actually came from my uncle, who's my dad's younger brother. So he suffered from schizophrenia when he was 19.
Okay.
And he's still alive, but
Yeah.
because I moved to Canada when I was in my teenage years, and we kind of, because of the distance, we haven't really been able to develop a relationship. But when I was younger, we were very, very close. And we used to visit him with my family at the mental health hospital he was at. So there was, a lot of mental health issues around in my life. And I personally went through a lot of mental health issues myself.
Okay.
So that's always been a huge part of my life, and really wanted to go into psychology, clinical psychology. And that's why I did my degree in psychology. And of course, this opportunity to work for the provincial government of BC came around right after I graduated. So I jumped on it. And yes, to answer your question, a super long-winded way, is it was most definitely my first passion, and still my passion till this day.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So did you find it hard to not bring your work home with you? And how did you deal with that so that you do your best to not do that?
It was really hard in the beginning, to be honest, and because when I first entered my line of work, I was very young. I think I was the youngest person at my full-time job when I started working with mental health issues, with some murders as well,
Wow.
addiction issues. So pretty hard, tough subjects. But because of the experience I had when I was a child, some really rough patches when I was a child. So I think that really toughened me up. And you know what they say, everything in life happens for a reason.
Yeah.
And when I went into this line of work, I was so passionate about it, and none of it turned me off. I don't even think that's the right word to use, but none of it, I think, scared me, and it made me more passionate. It made me more compassionate towards the human experience. And I think what really shifted for me was when I started to do a lot more self-reflection,
Yeah.
a lot more work on myself. And that's when I started realizing, everyone's messed up, and I'm messed up too. Everyone's messed up
We
in their
all
own
are.
ways.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think that was when I shifted from a sense of pity, looking at the people that I work with, feeling a sense of pityness towards them. And that then shifted over to compassion. That shifted over to empathy. And when that started turning around, I start looking at things rather than saying, oh, I feel so bad for this person. I start looking at it as in, why is this person in my life right now? How
Yeah.
is that experience benefiting me at this point? How is that person teaching me a lesson? And why is this person in my life at this time in this setting? So a lot of that start, turning into life lessons, and start really teaching me, my life path almost. I felt, a little selfish, just like, oh, I'm here and you're helping me out, but I'm getting paid to help you out. Yeah, and that really shifted for me. And from there onwards, I wasn't really bringing their so-called negative experience home. It was more so of me benefiting from that experience and really growing from it, if
Right.
that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So you are no longer counseling, I'm going to assume. You're not working in that field anymore, right?
I wouldn't say that I advertise it as that, but
Okay.
everything I do with my clients is very much mindset work.
Right.
Because, I mean, as it's everything starts from the mind. Even if you're
Yes.
changing your eating habits, it starts from the mind. So
Yeah.
all of that I still integrate into my practices in my business. Even when I talk to, friends, people come to me for advice, and all of that is mindset. All of that is counseling, right? It's
Yeah.
and every single person does this on a daily basis, I'd say.
Right.
Hmm.
So working in that world, you, as mentioned previously, you hold the title of naturopathic doctor. So did you transition kind of out of that specific area of work, counseling troubled youth and whatnot, into naturopathic medicine?
Yeah, totally.
And what inspired that?
What really changed for me was I think, I went through a very naive period. I mean, I think I'm still naive in certain ways, but I went through a naive period where I figured, if I just sit there and listen to people, everything's going to be okay. I can help this person, I can turn their life around, everything's great, and everyone approaches things from a very loving and kind place. And when I started on my job, I realized that there were certain people who really didn't care about the work they were doing.
Right.
They were there just to collect a paycheck. And before I personally experienced that, I just thought, I didn't really think was a real thing. But when I personally experienced it, I realized there were certain people who were just really there to drift through life rather than really trying to make an impact in the world.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of, different issues that was going on. But what really made me change my career was the type of, or rather the quality of treatment the patients were receiving, or the clients were receiving at these facilities that I was working at. The food was really, really bad, no nutritious content, or it was not helpful to the kind of treatment they were receiving. They were not receiving the right type of attention. So there's a lot of different things going on. They were not exercising properly. They were not taught how to think differently. They were not taught how to, for example, things that really make a difference, like meditate, breath work, things that are really fundamental to the human health, or rather shifting their mindset. So that's when I started looking elsewhere, because I was 23 or 24 at the time. So
Okay.
I looked, down the path, and I was like, I don't see myself living and working at this job for the rest of my life. So I started looking into different, paths to continue to help people. And that's when I found naturopathic medicine. And I think that's when naturopathic medicine still wasn't that popular.
Right.
And I really started looking into, the values and some of the principles of naturopathic medicine. And I felt that really aligned with my mission and what I really wanted to do to help people. So that's when I stopped on my job as a counselor. And then that's when I transitioned to naturopathic medicine.
Okay. So looking at medicine, we've got, I guess, two schools of thought here. You got naturopathic or your typical Western medicine route. So why did you choose naturopathic over your typical Western medicine route?
Yeah, really good question. So when it comes to Western medicine, and I'm not trying to put, Western medicine down or anything,
Right.
I think is amazing when it comes to emergencies, when it comes to acute care. But what naturopathic medicine does is it really integrates traditional medicine. When everyone talks about traditional medicine, they think is the Western medicine. But Western medicine hasn't been around for that long. Traditional medicine is referring to, things in ancient China, ancient, Ayurvedic medicine, ancient, Native American medicine. So things that have been around for thousands of years.
Yeah.
And naturopathic medicine really integrates the, traditional Chinese medicine, a little bit of Ayurvedic medicine. We do things like acupuncture, massage, nutrition, and a whole entire profile of different things to make sure that we are addressing the root cause of the issue. So let's say, you have a headache. In terms of Western medicine, you go to your doctor, they're like, okay, you have a headache, let me give you some painkillers.
Yeah.
Whereas you go see a naturopathic doctor, they're going to say, okay, you have a headache. Let's look at, what is not happy in your body, basically. What is out of balance in your body? What kind of headache is it? And how can we treat it, first of all, but also prevent it in the future? How can we bring your body back to balance rather than just patching up the symptom? So it's really allowing your body to, essentially is bringing your body back to balance and really helping your body to go back to a state where is in that powerful, in that baseline where, you feel amazing all the time. Because as humans, a baby comes out of the mother and it's in perfect condition.
Yeah.
Or most babies, rather.
Yes.
And, we didn't have to give it a pill or do something to this baby. As humans, we have everything we need to operate in perfect condition. And it's only usually when things are out of balance, when disease start happening, symptoms start happening. And those are usually just signs of the body things aren't in a state of balance, where things aren't, the way that they should be.
Right.
So all we need to do is help the body go back to that state and help the body function in a way that we were born to be.
Right.
I hope that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, I think we could do an entire podcast episode on Western medicine versus naturopathic medicine. There's lots of caveats there that we could get into and discuss. Do you think that naturopathic medicine has kind of started to catch on and catch more people's attention, and more people are moving to that route versus Western medicine? I mean, as you said, you go to the doctor, you have something wrong. Oh, here's a pill. You got to take this medication. You got to take that medication. I honestly think doctors, a lot of them are just legal pill pushers. That's it. Right? So
yeah.
Do you think that people are starting to, for lack of a better term, awaken to the naturopathic route versus Western medicine because of that type of thing?
Totally.
Okay.
Again, I think that's a really good question and really good observation and I think part of it is, I think people want to live a higher quality life. And this is something that I always say is, I want to live long and I want to die young.
Yeah.
I want to live until, let's say I'm 75, but I want to die in a body that is functional.
Yeah.
I don't want to sit in a wheelchair for 30 years of my life and live until I'm 126.
Exactly.
There's no point of me being useless to the world.
No, that's not
myself.
Quality of life.
Exactly. And I think that's what people are starting to realize, right? Is they don't feel good in their body, especially with the type of food we're eating, with the lifestyle a lot of North Americans are adapting these days, is not the best type of practice for our bodies to operate in. And obviously with, a lot of more information coming out, with a lot more people advocating for prevention, maintenance, rather than doing, reactive things like popping pills.
Being proactive instead of reactive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So most definitely, yes, for sure. There's that shift.
So I want to talk now about Wellth. So you, as mentioned, you're the founder and owner of Wellth, spelled Wellth. I love the name, by the way.
Can you
share with us? Can you share with us a bit about the mission and focus of your company?
Yeah, totally. So the mission is to own your health and find home in your body. And the reason why I started the company is because growing up, I hated my body. Nobody can tell, but I grew up as a really chubby, overweight kid. And I hated myself. I hated my body. I was so not confident and really lacked self-esteem. So I didn't feel at home in my body at all. And when I got older, I was doing quick fixes, crash diets, all these different things. Rather than, bring my body back to a state of balance, I was basically almost punishing myself in an indirect way. So the reason why I started the company is I want people to feel happiness, true happiness, and feel really healthy, feel at home in their bodies, so they can experience the abundance of life. They can really feel that, happiness no matter where they go. They can be confident in their own body, in their own mind, no matter where they go. And ultimately, I believe that every single person, just like the cells in our body, each person on this planet is like a cell to the planet as a whole. And doesn't matter what we do, we contribute to the health of the world and the health of everyone else's lives. And butterfly effect is the thing, ripple effect is the thing, is when we're happy, the world is happier. Our communities are happier, and we're much healthier as humans. And that's why I started Wellth, is because, I want everyone to be happy, and I want everyone to be able to live their purpose. Life. Mm-hmm.
So you help people through health and wellness coaching. You said you incorporate counseling into your sessions with your clients. Mm-hmm. It's nutrition based as well, right? You help them with nutrition and whatnot as well. So it's a very well-rounded coaching business. I mean, Again, I love the name Wellth. And your health is your wealth.
Exactly.
I love it. The
Most
work you're doing
definitely.
is so important. I love it.
I appreciate that. Thank you. The person who started Mind Body Green actually coined the term wealth. I can't take any credit for it, and that's why I could not register my company just under Wellth. I had to say Wealth by Deanna Rose. And
Okay.
so he is a genius who came up with it, and I absolutely fell in love with the term, and I completely agree. Your health is your wealth. Without our health, what is money for? Money
Yeah, exactly.
can't buy your health.
That's
Not at
right.
all.
How long ago did you start Wellth, Deanna?
About 2 years ago
2
now.
years ago? Okay.
It's been 2 years. Yeah, it's been a while.
Can you
Yeah.
share a bit about the process of onboarding your client? Like, what is a typical onboarding of a client process for you? How does that work?
Yeah, for sure. So I always screen my clients
Okay.
because I want to make sure that I'm the right person for them in
Right.
terms of what I do, what their needs are, and what their goals are. But also another thing is, I think energetically, everyone has energetic matches. And if we don't really match energetically, I don't think, the person's receptive to my help, then, there's really no point of them wasting their money and us wasting our times. So there's always that interview process where I look at what their needs are, their goals, and such. And after that, we have a very well-rounded consultation session, essentially, is when I go over their organ systems, looking at what is working, what is not working, especially when it comes to gut health. A lot of things that I focus on is around the gut. And I'm sure, Brad, that you're so knowledgeable in the health world, is your gut is your second brain.
Yeah.
And your gut is so intelligent, and everything we eat goes through this poor thing that has to process everything. So gut health is a huge component of what I do. Nutrition, of course, supplements if they need it, and we also look at people's habits. So their lifestyle habits plays a huge role in how people live their life and the quality of life they live. And so what I focus on is burnout, stress, people's mental clarity and energy. So habits plays a huge role in, those areas as well. And exercise, of course, I used to be a swimmer and then transitioned over to strength and conditioning coaching. So fitness is a huge component. So we also go over their fitness routines,
Okay.
and we also look at their detoxification system, look at the overall inflammation in the body, and then we of course look at their mindset as well. So that's a
Right.
huge component, is because we all have had trauma, whether that's a little T trauma, big T trauma, we all have had trauma.
Yeah.
And, a lot of people are like, no, I had a really great childhood. But the thing is, it's really interesting how people really perceive trauma, even at a very young age. And I've actually had a client who told me, I was so traumatized when I was in kindergarten. This kid pushed me and he took my toy.
Yeah.
And that has been ingrained in this person's mind for, the rest of their life.
Yeah.
So whether or not is, it's something that everyone recognizes as, oh my gosh, I am so sorry, that's so traumatic, or something so minor as, a kid took your toy, right? It really makes an impact on how people continue to live their life and the choices we make for however many years to come.
For
So we
sure.
really look at definitely their trauma, and from there onwards we do weekly sessions. So that's
Okay.
usually how things go.
Okay. So, Deanna, of all the hats you wear, do you have a favorite one that you enjoy doing more than the others? Like, what lights you up?
I think there's an underlying theme in everything, is connecting with people. Like
Yeah.
when you and I connected, it's amazing because what you do is absolutely phenomenal and is life
Thank
changing
you.
for a lot of people. And it is meeting people like you, meeting people who really, live their purpose, live their life mission. That's what lights me up, and be able to be part of that and really, help people continue to live their mission, but also help them see themselves differently and really see the world differently after our interaction, after our connection, and then, help them feel more inspired, and for them to obviously inspire me as well, and be able to continue to impact the people around them. I think that really lights me up, and really it's something that, yeah, it makes me wake up every day and smile and be so grateful.
Yeah, there's no feeling like living your purpose and living your mission, having found that, because you think about the millions upon millions of people who never do find their purpose or their mission in life. And to be able to have found that, for me anyways, it has just been incredible. And I didn't find my purpose and my mission until the last year and a half, but it is just the most incredible feeling in the world. And to also have what your mission and what your purpose is in life, give back and help others, impact others. There is no feeling like it. Honestly, I think it's like winning the lottery twice.
Yeah, totally. Totally. Yeah.
It's so incredible.
Yeah, that's a really great way to put it. Most definitely.
So I want to talk a little bit about the landscape of women-run businesses and women in entrepreneurship. I mean, I come from a corporate background. So for me, coming from that background, I saw a lot of women competing against one another and clawing at each other, and the constant competition among women because of what men have created in the corporate world in terms of not having enough seats for women at the table in these corporations, and this whole 1940s old boys club mentality that's been created. And the fact that that still exists in 2021 fucking boggles my mind that it's still there. But I think that we are starting to see a bit of a shift in mindset with a lot more women. What are your thoughts on the landscape of entrepreneurship and women-run businesses?
I think women, I mean, you know this already because you have this podcast, but I think women are freaking powerful.
Yeah.
But when I say that, I don't mean women are better than men. I think, with what you mentioned is the old school, the boys club mentality. It really made women, I think, really suppressed for so long. And the gender role has been ingrained in people for so long. And I don't really openly call myself a feminist because I think there's so much negative connotation to it in terms of how people choose to interpret that word. But when I say, feminism, I mean men and women are equals.
Yeah.
I think, we're all human. Men and women are equally powerful, but we have very different strengths and weaknesses.
For sure.
And I think men, because they've dominated, the working market professions for so long, that finally women are getting a voice these days. And now some women have that newfound, it's almost like, when it's like what are they called? The newfound rich or something, and they don't know what to do with their money.
Yeah.
They just flaunt it and they spend it on stupid stuff.
Yeah.
I think some women are finding that power and they really don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
And that comes from, I think, almost a scarcity mindset is when women are putting other women down or they feel that sense of competitiveness towards other women because they're feeling that power, but they don't really know what to do about it.
Yeah.
And they feel like, if I don't put other people down, then I might lose my position. I might lose my power. But if there is that abundance mindset where we want to lift each other up and you're better, then I'm better. So why don't we help each other out?
Yeah.
And I think that's when, when the world gets better. And of course, when men lift women up, like exactly what you're doing, which thank you so much for doing everything you do for women.
My pleasure and my honor.
Yeah, and it's I hope it's catching on. I hope more men do, what you do. It's essentially is you feel that sense of empowerment, you feel that sense of abundance in your life, and therefore you're able to go out and lift other people up, lift more people up, and feel the happiness, the abundance that you feel in your life. And I find, when people try to, and I used to do this as a woman, is, I felt that sense of scarcity. I felt that sense of competitiveness. So I would say, I was talking bad stuff about other women because I felt a sense of threat. I felt jealousy. But now, I'm a different position in life, and I feel that was because that I felt so insecure about my position in society and the professions that I worked in. And I think, hate or jealousy or fear will not breed love. Only love will always breed love. So I think as women find more and more power, empowerment, and comfort and security, and start learning how to use their power and exercise their power in a very healthy and supportive way, I think more women will become more supportive of each other.
For sure. Community over competition. I love that you've
Exactly.
mentioned mindset so much because that is truly a huge, huge piece of this puzzle. That's one of the biggest parts, if not the biggest part of it. Being able to shift your mindset around that competition mindset and getting rid of those old belief systems and all of that stuff. I think it's incredible. I think that we as men too need to show women that we are allies and we support
Hmm.
and stand beside them in what they're doing because men have kept women down for so long.
Totally.
It's time that we start standing up and showing women that, you know what, we support you, we stand behind you, we are your allies, we're not enemies.
Hmm. Most definitely.
It's so important. So, Deanna, with you being a serial entrepreneur yourself, what are your thoughts on this shift in mindset and how do women continue to push through and continue to break down these ridiculous barriers and these ways of thinking so that women can continue to excel and continue to push forward with shifting around this whole getting rid of this old boys club mentality?
I think it's a great question. Also, it's a hard question, I think, all of us need to start tapping into our own inner knowing, the innocence and the pure unconditional love that we were born with. And I think, as society, as we get older, live longer, we develop that shell and we start being very protective of ourselves and we start looking outwards, towards other people. And you mentioned earlier is, men need to start shifting and start really being more supportive of women. And I think how this started was because men were fearful of women's power. And I don't think they understood how women can be allies, how women can be supportive or even, be at the same level as men. And I think that's especially when men start going, what is it, the Industrial Revolution,
Yeah.
and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not good with recent history, I'm very good with like ancient history. When men started going to work and women started staying home, and I think that's when that role, that division in the gender roles start happening more and more and more. But I think what, people really need to start tapping into is their own inner knowing and understanding what their true power is. And for men, certain men want to stay home. And there's, again, that stigma with their housewives and their house husbands, I guess they're
Yeah,
called.
house husbands. Yep.
And they're judged because they're like, oh, men should go to work, women should stay home. And poor men, if they want to stay home, they should have the right to stay home.
Yeah.
So there's always that gender inequality going on, and there's that, expectation. But if we start minding our own business, start tapping into our own true power rather than listening to what society tells us what's supposed to go on or what's supposed to happen, then we really find that inner power within ourselves and we start looking at other people, looking at society in a very different way. And we're more than willing to support others when we're confident in ourselves. And
Absolutely.
if we're, yeah, totally. And if we're, willing to look into our intergenerational trauma, into our own personal trauma, and reprogram those false thought processes and false programming, then we're more than likely to start, owning our own power, being a lot more authentic. And, we would never be jealous of someone who's we perceive as not as good as us. We're only
Yeah.
jealous of people who are better than us.
Yeah. I like that you mentioned the conditioning though, when men feeling that they can't stay at home. And I think that that is a huge part of our conditioning as when we're brought up as boys that,
Hmm.
men are strong and men are stronger than women and men are the ones who need to support the family, protect the women and all of this shit. Things have
Totally.
changed so I mean, we got to get with the times here. This is, it just
Totally.
boggles my mind that this caveman mentality is still around. Like, come on, wake up, people.
Yeah, totally. Most definitely. You're absolutely right.
Now, you had mentioned that you grew up taking part in competitive swimming. You were very involved in sports. How would you say those skill sets and the lessons you've learned as an athlete transferred over and helped you in your career as a serial entrepreneur?
I mean, a great question, and I mean, you asked so many really amazing questions. I think part of it is my upbringing, and also, just as a swimmer, as any athlete, right? You had to do the same thing over and over again. So you had to just put your head down and work, and you had to just do it over and over again. So that repetition and the willingness to just keep going, the tenacity, I think is one thing that was really important in terms of transferring that skill over to what I currently do. But also reflect. So, in swimming, in any sport, it's not that you do the same thing over and over again. You have to reflect on what you did. You look at videos of your strokes and what worked, what didn't. If it didn't work, how can we change it? So that reflection piece, I think, plays a huge role in, whether it's running a business, whether it's, how you live your life, has been really helpful. And another thing I'd say is I contributed to I'm not really big into zodiac signs, but I was contributed to my zodiac sign. I'm a Taurus.
Okay.
So the biggest thing people know about Tauruses is the stubbornness. Like, I'm really stubborn. So yeah, I think stubbornness, if you use it the right way, can be very beneficial.
Okay.
Yeah, totally. I would say like stubbornness, but also I would say one more thing is that knowing how to take criticism, not taking it personally, but rather using it to your advantage and really learn from them and take that criticism and know how you can continue to improve with feedback. I think that's another huge thing.
Love it.
Mm-hmm.
Deanna, what drives, motivates, and inspires you to keep going and keep pushing and excelling at all that you do?
This might sound silly. The biggest thing that I keep telling myself on a daily basis is there's no going back. It sounds so silly.
No, it's true though.
And yeah, because I sometimes think about, the things that I've accomplished in my 20s. I'm 32 right now. And when I was in my 20s, I did a lot of stuff. I met a lot of people. I did a lot of stuff. I traveled a lot. And then now, there are days when I feel a little bit down and I'm like, it's so much easier to just do nothing. And, those thoughts come up in my head sometimes. And sometimes this little voice just comes on and says, we can't go back. You got to keep going. Where are you going to go? Backwards? I think in really weird ways. And that it's a very loving and kind voice, but it's almost like it chirps me sometimes. Like, where do you think you're going to go? But part of it is, I have a lot of really inspirational friends and really inspirational people around me who are constantly going, getting better, driving themselves forward and constantly finding inspiration around themselves. And it's, really finding what really inspires you and is supportive of your mission and help you continue to live your purpose in life. And I think that's huge. And what's that saying? You are who you surround yourself with. We're
Yes.
the 5 people that you surround yourself with.
Yeah.
So absolutely true. For sure.
What do you think your unique skill set or superpower is that's helped you become successful?
I think is being blunt. I've always been different as, wherever I went, like whatever jobs I worked at, I've always been that weird, odd one out, whether the way I looked, the way I talked. And when I moved to Canada, I didn't speak a word of English. And, it was very uncomfortable for me. So I was born and raised in China. And I even felt different when I was in China. And then when I moved to Canada, I was, of course, very different. I didn't speak the language. I didn't look, the part. I didn't fit in any way. And I think as I got older, I think I embraced that a lot more and used it to my advantage in terms of being able to be my authentic self and really speak my mind whenever I could in a way that obviously is from a loving and compassionate, empathetic place, and not being able to not be afraid to stand out. And even when I was in school, people looked at me different because I don't look like a doctor. Let's just be honest here. And people look at me, they're like, "You're a doctor? What are you talking about?" And that's okay. And we're all about breaking social norms here, and I'm all about that. If I don't look like a doctor, great. I don't want to look like a boring person with glasses wearing a lab coat. No. I want to be a fun person that you want to party with. I want to be a very knowledgeable person that you want to come up to me when you have a question. I want to be the best friend that you've ever had. I want to be that person that you want to cry to when you
Yeah.
have a problem. I want to be that person next door that you can just be like, hey, do you want to go grab dinner?
Yeah.
I don't want to be someone who I'm not. So, and I think that's something that society is really lacking is, oh, you look like an accountant. Oh, you look like an astronaut. Like, what does an astronaut look like?
Yeah. Oh, what does a doctor look like? Like, who's to say
Exactly.
what a doctor looks like? I mean,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. So, I think it's just having thick skin and
Yeah, for sure.
and just not be afraid to show my true colors in any situation. I think that would be my unique skill set
All right. I
if that's
like it.
considered my unique skill set.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. Being authentically you. Absolutely. No one else is you.
Exactly, most definitely. And I mean, you've interviewed so many people and every single person's unique and
Yeah,
different and yeah, and we just got to embrace it.
that's it.
Mhm.
So, speaking of success, Deanna, how do you define that word? What does the word success mean to you?
Success to me is when you are at peace with yourself,
Love
is
that.
when you feel that, you are completely happy with exactly who you are and you are not afraid of other people's judgment. You're not afraid of standards other people have set for the general population. I think, when you're truly happy and at peace with yourself, I think that's success for me, for sure.
What would you say is one of the most important things you've learned in your life? And what was your life like before learning it? And what was your life like after you learned it?
I think that's like really an amazing question. I think it's, something that everyone really needs to embrace is understanding that control and validation are the two things that we seek the most in life from an external source, but those are the two things that we were born with. And when I learned that the hard way because I was the person who constantly seeked validation from other people. I was that person who constantly tried to find control from an external source. And I suffered from anxiety. I suffered depression because I felt like I was out of control. I felt like I had absolutely no control over my environment. And because I was looking in all the wrong places. And we were born with control. We were born with validation. If we give ourselves unconditional love, we can find control within ourselves. We can find validation within ourselves. And that will give us a lot more peace, give us a lot more clarity, and really help us filter through the noise and really be able to find that intuition that we were born with. So to answer the second part of your question is, after I learned it, in life, which is actually fairly recently, there's a lot less emotional ups and downs, less mood swings, less sad periods, and my external environment no longer determined how my day was going to go and how I see myself as a human. And because it didn't matter what was happening outside of me, all it mattered is that I have a solid understanding of my values, who I am as a person. So it doesn't matter what other people said to me. It doesn't matter what was going on outside of me. I'm confident in me as a human. I'm confident in what I, offer to the world, and that's all it mattered. So
I
I would
love that.
say that's what changed after I learned that. Yeah, yeah, for sure.
It's a hard lesson to learn. It's not easy.
No, and especially with in these days, right? This day and age with social media. Oh man, I don't know. I feel really bad, but at the same time, I think it's gonna really bring out the best and the worst in a lot of people is how kids are really living through this period right now because that's all they know is social media, their iPads, the internet, and all that. And it's constant bombardment of external validation. If you don't get that validation, you get a dip in mood. That
Yeah,
dopamine hit doesn't kick in. So, yeah, I think it'd be really interesting to see how the teenagers and the kids these days grow up to be adults later on.
for sure, for sure.
Hmm.
Who in your life, Deanna, has had the biggest impact on you and why?
Can I say more than one person?
Sure.
I think both my parents and my boyfriend. My parents, because my mom taught me, unconditional love and what unconditional kindness and love and care can do for other people. My mom honestly is one of the most caring, loving person that I've ever met in my life, and she's just so unconditional with her love, and she never expects anything back.
Yeah.
And so she's just so kind and loving, but to the point where she put her own happiness at stake. So that's when I learned to be harder and to set boundaries, personal boundaries at the amount of energy I give people. So be very selective of people. So she taught me unconditional love, but also she taught me boundary setting. And whereas my dad is, he taught me how to be rational with things. He taught me to be calm and not let emotions drive my behavior. So, something hard is happening, take a break, pause, and then go forward rather than letting my emotions drive me. Thinking about the bigger picture rather than being so narrow-sighted or short-sighted and allow my emotions to drive me in that moment. And whereas my boyfriend, again, one of the most, and I'm so honestly so blessed to have so many amazing people in my life. My boyfriend is one of the most compassionate, loving, understanding people in my life. And he's just so unconditional with his love. And before I met him, I was like, I didn't think people like this exist. And I keep telling him, like, I didn't think people like you exist, He has the best parents. And they're so loving, so kind. And my boyfriend's really taught me another thing that's really important for, entrepreneurs, for everybody in this world, is the importance of building relationships. It's so important for us to build relationships and not burn bridges and not be so, I'm so quick tempered as a person. And I used to be much, much worse. And, on top of that, with my bluntness, you can like a firecracker in the worst way. So he's really calmed me down. He's really, really taught me how to really take my time and build relationships, high quality relationships, never burn bridges, and really approach every single situation with love, with kindness, and really still be really kind with shitty people, but
Kill them
still
with
protect
kindness.
my own energy. Exactly. But still protect my own energy,
Of course,
which I didn't know how to
absolutely.
do before.
Yeah.
He didn't teach me. He showed me without even trying. So yeah, he's just honestly godsend.
Beautiful.
For
That's
sure.
beautiful.
Yeah.
I love it. It's so beautiful.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Deanna,
Yeah.
what does the word empowerment mean to you?
I think empowerment is know your power
Mm-hmm.
and not be afraid to use it. And we've talked about this, a few times before, is how society expects different expectations
Yeah.
about different genders, professions, ages even. So, and I think, empowerment is knowing your true power and not be afraid to use it to your own benefit and also to the benefit of humanity.
Yeah.
And when you live that empowerment, when you live your own power and be able to show your true authentic self, you inspire other people to live that. And you start treading into uncomfortable situations, treading into the unknown, so you can fail and grow from there, and then, really inspire others to do the same. I think
ripple
that's
effect.
what, exactly. And, you can fail so other people don't make the same mistakes as
Yeah,
you.
that's right.
And then other people make their mistakes. You look at their mistakes and learn from that.
Yeah.
So I think empowerment is that interaction, that connection that we have with each other, whether that's energetically, experience-wise, or that physical connection we have with other people.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to jump into a little rapid fire section here. So the next grouping of questions just be 2, 3, 4 word answer type thing. Okay.
Okay. I'll be quick and I'll be less words.
What is the first thing you think of when I say the word future?
Connection.
How would you describe yourself in one word?
Odd.
In a good way.
I hope so. Yeah.
What's the first thing you notice about a person?
Their eyes.
If you could teach the world one thing, what would it be?
Be kind to another, but be selective with who you share your energy with.
What's one thing you want but cannot buy with money?
I think empathy, as much empathy as I can get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you could change one thing about the world, what would you change?
This is going to sound really weird. I hope that I love animals. So I really hope humans and animals can reverse roles so humans can experience the suffering that humans have put on animals.
It really is sad what the human race has done to animals, domestic and animals in the wild, both.
Most definitely. I think it sounds a little odd and cruel, but
No,
yes,
I think it's
really
great.
wish so.
I think
I
it's
really
great.
wish that. Mm-hmm.
What is one of your favorite entrepreneurial books?
Especially for women. So there's this book called Women Who Run with the Wolves.
Okay.
I don't know if you've heard of it. It
No.
basically tells, different tales, different stories on women's true power, the wild side in women. Highly, highly recommended.
Entrepreneur life is?
A reflection of life.
I love that. I have never heard anyone give that answer. I love that answer. That is one of the best answers I've ever heard.
Great.
I love it.
I'm honored. Because you've interviewed a lot of people, so I'm honored.
I
Thank
love
you.
that answer. Deanna, if you're writing your autobiography, what would the title be?
Non-permanence.
I like it. That concludes our rapid fire section. Now back to our regularly scheduled program.
Beautiful. I love it.
Deanna, what's your personal motto?
Everything's figure-outable.
Marie Forleo.
Oh, is that hers?
Yeah, I love it.
Oh, I
Yeah,
didn't even
she wrote a book.
know.
That's the title of one of her books.
Okay, I probably should start following her. I actually don't really follow her. I know of her.
That's one of her books.
Oh, damn. Okay, well then.
I love it though. I think it's great. You're right though. It is. Everything is figure outable.
I was gonna say I need to change my personal motto to something unique like me, but
That's a good
kidding.
personal motto. I like it. That works.
Yeah, I love it. It's so true, right? It's so true.
For sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If you could set up a billboard anywhere, where would you put it and what would it say?
I would say we're all the same, and what you project out, you'll eventually receive back.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And where would you put that though? Where would you put the billboard?
Everywhere.
Everywhere? Just all over the world.
All over the world. And I think, it's kind of related to my understanding of karma. I don't think karma is, what you give a pencil, you receive a pencil back type of thing, where you do you kill an animal will kill you back, but more so of, the way I look at life is we're just a soul in a body, and we've lived multiple thousands of lifetimes, and that karma might not come back to us within the same lifetime, but eventually down the road, somehow, it will come back to us in one way or another. But I think because a lot of people are so short-sighted that we think, it's not going to come back, or it's going to come back in the same way, but not everything is immediate.
What would you say are the top 3 skills needed to be a successful entrepreneur?
I think it goes back to everything starts from within us. So the first one, I think, is self-awareness, knowing your strength and your weaknesses. So then you're confident about your values and what you deliver to the world. And the second one would be, not be afraid to use your strengths and really be proud of them, flaunt them, be confident about it. And I think our strengths and our weaknesses are gifts that were given to us by the universe, by the gods, whoever, whatever you believe in, were given to us. And we need to deliver it to the world and make the world a better place. And the last one would be, believe in yourself, because no one else will love you and believe you more than you believe and love yourself. And believe your strength, be confident with your strengths and your mission. And that's going to give you the drive you need, the confidence you need, the motivation and the perseverance you need when times get hard.
Beautiful. What would you say is the most entrepreneurial thing about you?
Man, I think my stubbornness.
All right.
I think so. Everyone who knows me know I'm very stubborn.
Okay.
I think in a good way, I hope. Yeah.
All right, we'll go with that.
Yeah.
Deanna, what's one thing you wish you had known when you started your career or entrepreneurial journey?
Things don't happen overnight. As I mentioned, I'm very quick-tempered, and I do something, I give my 100%, and I expect 100% back.
I don't think that's asking too much, though.
Yeah, but like with starting a business, with anything, right? With health and wellness, with business, with, working out, anything, it's a very slow process. You have to be consistent. You have to be in the mindset to know that you have to be consistent for the long run. So when I first started, because of course I have a psychology background, I have a medical background, I don't have a business background. When I started my business, I didn't know anything, like zero about business. So for me is, when I was in school, I gave it my all. When I was with patients, I gave it my all. When I was with clients, I gave it my all. And I've always received very good results back, whether that's, good results from clients, whether that's good results from patients. So it was very much immediate gratification. Whereas, when I started my business, I was figuring everything out on my own. I hired business coaches, but they kept saying, you have to be consistent, you have to be consistent. But I was like, I'm consistent. I'm very consistent. I give my 100% consistently. Why am I not getting results back consistently? So yeah, definitely. I think one thing is to understand that, you have to set up solid foundations, and it's a long game. It's not, it will not happen.
Patience, patience, patience. That is key. That is definitely, in my opinion, one of the top 3 skills needed, because we are, as human beings. I mean, when I first started my business a year or so in, I was like, what the fuck? I'm nowhere near where I thought I'd be. And it was a scarcity mindset. Or a competition mindset. And I was always worried about what everyone else was doing and not happy with where I was in my journey. And you have to be patient with yourself. You have to learn patience. That is such an integral piece of the entrepreneurial puzzle, for sure.
Totally. Yeah. Thank you for adding that. Most definitely. And I can completely relate. And like you said, within the first year, you're like, I'm not where I want to be, where I think I should be.
Yeah.
And I was comparing myself with other people.
Yeah.
I was like, well, why are they doing so amazing within their first year? And they're not even in the same industry.
Yeah. Someone told me today, actually, I was interviewing a woman just before our interview, and she said, we were talking about mindset and competition mindset. She said, don't compare someone else's 10th season to your 2nd season.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So, yeah.
For sure.
Deanna, what do you do to keep yourself inspired every day and to inspire others?
Gratitude.
That's an important lesson, for sure.
Very much so. I grew up as a person who is very bitter. And
you're being very honest. This is great. I love it.
I'm very honest.
Very vulnerable.
I used to think that I needed to portray, have this, image, I guess, of having a perfect life, being a perfect person, but that was like tiring. It's so much easier to be honest. Yeah, I was this bitter person. I hated people because I only saw the worst in people, and people didn't really want to be close to me, and I burned so many bridges. But what really turned around for me was, really starting to find the goodness in everything and everyone. And that was life-changing for me. The simple act of waking up every single morning and just be grateful for waking up in the morning and having, a very functional body, a body that allows me to do whatever I want to do, and be grateful for all the amazing people that I've attracted into my life, I think is so important. And that inspires me. And of course, with more gratitude, you attract more things that you want to be grateful for. And all the amazing people, again, who are in my life inspire me. So definitely it's, gratitude and all the amazing humans and souls that have come into my life, for sure.
Gratitude is something we should all practice daily. Absolutely 100% agree with that.
Totally. And even let me just add really quickly is, this is something that I think is going to be helpful for people as well and this is something that I found recently that I start doing myself and start, telling other people to do is when you're grateful for something, don't just say, I'm grateful for my body. Tell yourself why you're grateful for it. Because when we start saying why we're grateful, it not only allows you to think of the gratitude more times, once or twice more, but you also intensify that feeling. Because when we start saying, I'm so grateful for this body, I'm so grateful for this body because it allows me to work out, it allows me to go for a run, it allows me to hug the people that I love. And then all of a sudden you have so many more things to be grateful for again.
Absolutely, you're right. That's a great addition to that, for sure. Something to be mindful of, definitely.
Yeah, totally.
Deanna, what does the best version of you look like when you close your eyes and imagine it?
I say truly happy with myself and my body and my life, the people that I surround myself with, no matter what the situation is, whether it's a good day, a bad day, with good people or bad people, just truly be happy and be confident in my life and living in the present, but, reflecting on the past, learning from the past, and not allowing the anxiety of the future or thinking about what's going to happen in the future, but rather understanding that the present is all I have, and understand that, everything I do right now contributes to the future version of myself, or rather, continue to be the best version of myself. I think that's something that I continue to strive towards, and also give more, continue to give more than I take, and produce more than I consume. I think that would be the ideal version of my future.
There you go. That's it. I love it.
Yeah.
If you could go back and give your younger self one piece of advice, what would that piece of advice be?
I think it's the common theme that, we've been talking about, is really focus on building relationships with people and always be authentic, but in a way that's loving towards others. And of course, being a person that I mentioned before, is I was not the most understanding and not the most patient person in the past. And so that building relationship piece, really, I learned it the hard way. And yeah, most definitely build relationships and always be yourself, because there's no point, having a fake facade on and attract a bunch of people that don't jive with your energy. So authenticity goes a long way, and it will attract the right people into your life.
Yeah. Lastly, Deanna, if you were to deliver your last 30-second speech to the world, what would that last 30 seconds sound like? What would you say to people?
Are you going to time me for this one?
No.
I know, I'm just kidding. You're just kidding. I would say, every single person has the power to change the trajectory of the world. And that starts within every single one of us. And everything we need, we have it within ourselves. So whether that's love, validation, control, those are things that we already have, but we constantly sacrifice our own happiness to search for those things from the external world. And how we choose to live our lives, whether that's, viewing ourselves and treating others, those have a direct impact on the direction of our lives, our personal lives, and also the people around us. So as individuals, it's really important for us to take the time to learn about ourselves and our purpose, but in the absence of the ego that's always, clouding our vision, and really connect and be friends with our true selves, and not be afraid to connect with our true selves and be able to show our true selves to the world and continue to show up as our authentic selves, so we can continue to live that, the true happiness and fulfilled life that we deserve, and also fulfill our purpose in this life, so we can continue to make this world a better place.
Beautifully said. Awesome. Deanna, thank you so much for taking the time to be here today and share a bit about your story and your journey with us. You are truly an incredibly inspirational and beautiful soul. I so appreciate you taking the time, and I'm so grateful for you, and so happy to have had the honor to sit down and chat with you and learn more about who you are and what you do. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you today.
Thank you so much, Brad. You're so kind. Honestly, it's my honor, and thank you so much for everything you do in life, and also, for women in general. So thank you so much. I really appreciate you.
It is my honor and my pleasure.
Once
again, my name is Brad Walsh, host of your Empowerography Podcast. Today, my guest has been Deanna Rose. She is the owner and founder of Wellth by Deanna Rose Incorporated. Thanks, Deanna. I hope you have an amazing rest of the day.
Thank you. You as well, Brad.
Thank you very much for listening to this podcast. If you haven't yet, please be sure to subscribe, rate, review, and share with all your friends. You can find me at visuphoria.ca and follow me on Instagram at Empowerography Podcast and on Facebook at Empowerography. Please join me next time for another inspirational story from yet another amazing woman.